Dr. Porkchop in the Chop Shop Racing on his outlap. Approaching turn number 5 and 6. Slightly downhill. Camber breaking away in that corner. Very difficult to get the power down as you go down the hill and approach the hairpin at turn 7. But Dr. Porkchop not quite pushing yet. Just an outlap for the drivers for the current moment. That was James Pierre Reed in the wall, but he's back in the pits and will look to go out again for an outlap to get the tires and the brakes and the car warmed up for what is now 8 minutes left for the GT4s to set a flying lap attempt. The 395 of Neil Kerbel will be first to cross the line as Justin Beachley approaches the chicane with a bit of a train forming out in front. Here is the 395 McLaren of Neil Kerbel starting the first flying lap for the GT4s down the hill in the braking zone of turn 1. And the straight slightly bends to the right before the braking zone 2. It's a very difficult corner to get the braking zone right. Not too many good markers around as he goes through the Mercedes-Benz arena. Turns number 3 and then 4 back to the right. Don't want to run wide. Don't want to pick up a track limit violation and invalidate the flying lap as Neil Kerbel still on a good lap, approaching turn number 5 and then 6, turning back on itself. This corner, like we said, very difficult to get the power down, but Neil Kerbel does just that in his McLaren as he goes down the hill, approaching the hairpin. The camber very much in favor of the driver, able to carry a lot of momentum and a lot of speed into the corner to help with the exit as he approaches the Schumacher S to the left up the hill, nearly cresting it as he turns back to the right. Just a slight lift on the beginning part into the braking zone of turn 10 before the track starts going back down the hill. Turn 11 back to the right before the flat out kink of the Ad van Bogen before approaching the chicane to finish his flying lap attempt. How fast of a time will Neil Kerbel post? Can he keep the lap good up until the end? A bit of a wiggle on the exit of the final part of the chicane, but he's able to hold it down a few gears and back up he goes as he crosses the line. What time will Neil Kerbel set for the GT4s to chase? It's a 2:05.1 on the board for the McLaren driver, as Alex Freeman is beginning or closing the first sector. Professor Chronotis unable to set a time on the board. Ryan Eason on the board, 2:06.760 from him. Sir Kojay on the board. Justin Beachley across the line in second place, just about 2/10 off of Neil Kerbel's time at the top, as there are a few more drivers approaching. Jay Daly being one of them in the Ginetta. The OWP Racing sets a time good enough for 7th place. Still half of the session remaining for the drivers. Should be about 2 to 3 laps, depending on when the drivers cross the line. But the order for the time being is Neil Kerbel on top, Justin Beachley in second, Noah Johnson in third, Brian DeSantiago in 4th place, Ryan Eason 5th, Sir Kojay 6th, Jay Daly in 7th, Dom Matroni in 8th. Alex Freeman up to the line. Where will he put his AF Sport Aston Martin? He goes into the top 5. 1.5 seconds off of Neil Kerbel and very close to the time of Ryan Eason. Hundredths separating those two drivers. Still a few drivers not able to set a valid lap. We saw JP Reed in the wall and back to the pits, but he is on a flying lap now in the KTM Celsius Auto Sport. Going up the Schumacher S back to the right. It's got Brian DeSantiago in front there in the 777 BMW, trying to improve on his time. He sits about a second off of the pole position time in 4th place. Oh, and a bit of a wiggle there from JP Reed into the braking zone at turn number 11, as he might just, looks like he's just bailing out of the lap, trying to get some temperature back into the tires. He's got some company in front, as he still is looking to set a time on the board. Where will the KTM find himself after a bit of a wiggle on through turn 11, but still looking like it was a valid lap, and it was not, unfortunately. So Reed now will try to set a lap, with Dr. Porkchop doing the same, going through the chicane and into the final corner. Turn number 15 around this 3.2 mile configuration at the Nurburgring Grand Prix layout. Dr. Porkchop, no time on the board, and now he is on the board, and he slides in to 8th place in the 71 Chop Shop Racing AMG. So Neil Kerbel does improve his time at the top to a 2:04.570. Dom Matroni now sits in 2nd place. Justin Beachley in 3rd. Noah Johnson in 4th. Brian DeSantiago in 5th. Then you have Alex Freeman in 6th. Ryan Eason in the pits in 7th place. I think that might be his qualifying session done, so he will only be as high as 7th place. Dr. Porkchop here in 8th place. Sir Kojay in 9th. Jay Daly in 10th. Then Professor Chronotis, JP Reed, and Andre Alex Afonso unable to set a valid lap on the board, but looking to change that is Professor Chronotis in the number 42, going through the final sector of the Nürburgring, the chicane, and the final corner. How high can the Professor go? Just to charge up to the line, but still having time on the board for another lap. He finds himself in 6th place, slides between DeSantiago and Alex Freeman, but any slight improvement can find him as high as 4th place ahead of Noah Johnson. There is just 200 separating 4th and 6th place. Neil Kerbel with another slight improvement of his lap time at the top. So he improves his advantage over Dom Matroni, who is in the pit lane. So 2nd place is the best that the number 5 McLaren can do. So Justin Beachley and Brian DeSantiago looking to change that. Same with Noah Johnson as he goes up to the line, unable to improve his lap time. But he did cross the line before the 10-minute mark, so he will able to go for one more flying lap attempt, and he goes deep. So 5th place, now 6th will be the highest he can go, as Alex Freeman improves up to 4th in the number 14 Aston, and he will return to the pits after completing his lap. So this just leaves those drivers in the GT4s out on track. You've got Neil Kerbel in the 395 on pole position, but still trying to improve his time at the top. Or maybe he will just practice his pit lane entry. But nonetheless, the 395 will do just that. He will practice his pit lane entry. Then, up next is Professor Chronotis, currently sitting in 7th place. Very, very close to the track limit warning there from the outside of the chicane, but still under control in the number 42 up to the line. Can he slide himself into the top 5 or into the top 3? He cannot. Improves up into 6th place, moves Noah Johnson down to 7th. And that just leaves a few of our drivers in the GT4s trying to set a lap. Andre Alex Afonso in the 999 Maserati trying to do that, as JP Reed is able to find a time good enough for 8th place in the KTM. So just a few corners left for Afonso in the 999 Maserati, and he will be the last of the GT4s across the line. No time yet on the board. Where will Andre Alex Afonso find himself? He finds himself in 12th place, or 11th place of the GT4s, that is, as there are already GT3 times on the board. Joe Chericola in the number 9 Mustang finds himself on pole position for the GT3s. And Jacob Church looking like joining a bit late here in the 253, unable to set a time in the GT4s as well. So here is the order for the GT4s. You've got Neil Kerbel out on top, with Dom Matroni in second. Then Justin Beachley rounds out the top 3. Alex Freeman is in 4th. Brian DeSantiago in 5th. Then you have Professor Chronotis, followed by Noah Johnson. Then J.P. Reed able to get a good time at the last minute there. Then Ryan Eason and Sir Kojay rounds out the top 10. Then you have Andre Alex Afonso, followed by Dr. Porkchop and Jay Daly. This is Miguel Cicerone in the 998 Aston Martin GT3 on a flying lap attempt. Looking to chase the time of a 1:57.125 set by Chericola at the top of the charts for the GT3s. It's right on board with the GT3 driver here as he goes through the Schumacher S's, cresting the hill through turn 10. Very quick corner, able to carry a lot of speed and then back down the hill. Also need to carry as much speed as possible, as this is one of the longest straightaway flat out sections on the track before the entry to the chicane. Braking a little bit before the 50 board, down a few gears, slinging it into the first part, into the second part, onto the curbs. Very heavy curbs on the outside there, but he is able to ride the curb very well, and through the final corner, finding the line and to the line. How high can the Aston Martin go? It is good enough for 3rd place, now 4th, with Jake Wells setting the pole position time of a 1:54.775 for the time being. Then you have Ramon Torres in 2nd, Danny Campbell in 3rd, and there will be plenty more action as more of the GT3 drivers continue to funnel in. This is Ricardo Rivera in the 53 Ferrari. Oh, and had a solid 2:04 going, Beach. The 7-second gap to the car in front was not enough. Sometimes that just happens there, my friend. That just happens. Ricardo Rivera to the line, trying to get a time on the board, and a time on the board he gets. Good enough for the top spot in the GT3s. A 54.265 is the time to chase for the GT3s now, who are looking to get those times as quickly as they can, as Jaden Lussier running wide in the 222 BMW, and he will have to go around again and try to set a valid lap on the board once again. Jake Wells was in pole position, but Ricardo Rivera was able to improve on his time. But can Jake Wells find that half a second he needs to displace Rivera from the top spot? Looking very good as he goes through the chicane very smoothly is the McLaren, not bouncing around. Can he find the improvement? He can! Nearly a 10th of an improvement over Ricardo Rivera now. So Jake Wells on top in the 527 McLaren. Ramon Torres also looking for an improvement in the fellow McLaren, and he does get an improvement, and so he is now up into 5th place ahead of the Cheeseman Jason Provolone. Now Kevin Yu up to the line, improves up to 3rd. So Chandler Williams now in 4th place, looking to get an improvement on his time. And the number 3 Bentley going through the chicane to close out the lap. Needs to try to get the power down as early as he can. The line comes up quick. 3 minutes, I should say, left in qualifying. Improves up into 3rd. 2.5 tenths off of Jake Wells' time at the top of the GT3 times. And Thiago Dinarte, no lap on the board, and now he gets a lap on the board. A 54.150 puts him on provisional pole ahead of Jake Wells and Ricardo Rivera. But Jake Wells looking to change that. The fellow McLaren driver, I should say, in the JWR NLR McLaren through the chicane, 1 corner left. Can he maintain the speed he needs to find the improvement? He does find the improvement. A 54.01, I should say, is now the time to beat for the drivers behind. Danny Campbell, another McLaren driver, up into 7th place with that improvement he finds on his previous flying lap attempt there as he goes across the line. Puggy Watt running a little bit wide. But still on a... Oh, unfortunately, no, that was an invalidation for Buggy Watt, so he will try to go around again here. Try and get that valid lap on the board. Ricardo Rivera finding himself now in 3rd place through the final corner. Needs 2.5 tenths of an improvement to get to pole position and about 1 tenth to get to 2nd place, and he finds much more than that. A 53.787. Now the time to beat. Jake Wells and Thiago Dinarte both need about 2 or 3 tenths of an improvement, and Thiago Dinarte does find an improvement. He does put a 53.985 on the board to take the spot of Jake Wells in 2nd place, but it is not good enough for pole position. For the time being, this will be the last flying lap attempt for most of the drivers, with just 40 seconds left on the clock, who will find themselves in that top spot in pole position. Mach speed in the 145 Porsche. Trying to get a lap on the board. No valid lap yet. This would be a good time to do it with just 15 seconds left on the clock. He will be able to go around again as he crosses the line. Time is good enough for 11th place, and still time for 1 more lap of an improvement from the Porsche driver. So now Chandler Williams sitting just inside the top 5, looking for an improvement as Kevin Yu goes across the line to finish his qualifying session. 5th will be the best that the number 95 Ferrari can do in this session. You have the 222 across the line as well. That is Lussier and Provolone. 8th for the Cheeseman. 11th is the best that Lussier will be able to do unless any driver displaces them. Chandler Williams now to the line and finds an improvement in lap time, but does not find any improvement in position. So 4th will be the highest that the Bentley driver will finish. Jake Wells finds a time that is good enough for pole position ahead of Ricardo Rivera, who is in 2nd place. Then Thiago Dinarte in 3rd. So just a few drivers left on a valid lap here You have Danny Campbell in the 720. McLaren going through the Schumacher S. Now back down the hill. Longest flat out section of the track down the hill, a sweeping right-hand turn before the braking zone of the chicane. Technically, indeed, it is technically the longest part. Where you get the highest speed. And through the final corner, Danny Campbell to close out the qualifying session. Can he get into the top 5? Or will 7th be the best that he can do? 7th will be the best that he can do, but he was able to improve his time at the last second there. So that is the qualifying session done. So we begin the starting formation for the grid in round number 5 around the Nurburgring. Where's my favorite guy? Tyler is just doing Mondays for the GT4 rookies. It is just myself here for the Wednesday championship, but hopefully you guys might be able to convince him to join me. So yeah, feel free to reach out to him, and hopefully he will be on board with joining that. So let's remind ourselves of the starting grid. This is the GT4 grid. You've got Neil Kerbel in pole position with Dom Matroni in second place. Behind him in the number 5, Canarinos Racing Team McLaren. Justin Beachley starts from third place in the Beach GT AMG. Alex Freeman will be behind him on the second row in the AF Sport Aston Martin. Brian DeSantiago in the 777 BMW starts from 5th place with the Professor behind him in the 42 AMG. Alongside him, fellow AMG driver Noah Johnson in the Chickadee Racing 942. He will have JP Reed in the Celsius Autosport KTM for company. Behind them will be Ryan Eason in the Jurassic Racing number 2 Camaro, with Sir Kojay in the Chill Bibble Racing AMG 333. Andre Alex Afonso able to get a valid lap right at the last attempt in the 999 Maserati. Will start ahead of Dr. Porkchop in the Chop Shop Racing number 71 AMG. Jay Daly in the 139 Janetta OWP Racing will be second to this guy, Jacob Church. One Bigley unable to get a valid lap on the board in the 253, so he will look to make up positions from the start. In the GT3 field, you've got Jake Wells in the JWR NLR Racing 527 McLaren starting from pole position. Behind him on the front row will be Ricardo Rivera in the Puerto Rico E-Racing Club 53 Ferrari. Thiago Dinarte will be next. In third place, with Chandler Williams behind him in the number 3 Bentley. Kevin Yu starts from 5th in the number 95 Ferrari, with Ramon Torres in the Puerto Rico E-Racing Club 181 McLaren behind him in the third row. Danny Campbell, fellow McLaren driver, the 720, starts from 7th place. Jason Provolone behind him in the It Ain't Easy Bein' Cheesy Mustang. Miguel Cicerone in the 998 Aston Martin starts from 9th place, with Joe Chericola in the number 9 Mustang rounding out the top 10. Then you have Jaden Lussier in the 222 BMW in 11th, with Mock Speed behind him in the 145 Porsche. Then you have Lawson Sadowski in the number 32 McLaren, with Buggy Watt in the 410 Ferrari starting from 14th. And Rally Dutchy rounds out the GT3 grid. Oh my goodness. So much love going on in the chat. Look at you guys go. Gifting all the subs. Onboard lap redeemed with Thiago Dinarte and a hydrate. Thank you very much, guys, for all of the gifts. Much appreciate you guys. It is a great night to be watching the multi-class racing here. And we will redeem that onboard lap with Thiago Dinarte in a few laps after the start. So just remind me there. Oh my goodness. So much is happening. Hello, Eric. You join us at a great time at the formation lap of the start of round 5 around the Nurburgring. 50-minute race ahead with a pit stop in between, a 25-second mandatory refueling pit stop, and then it is optional for the drivers to take tires to add 5 seconds to their pit stop time, but potentially having that fresh rubber advantage towards the end of the race will be quite beneficial indeed. Brian DeSantiago will look up to make some places from the start, starting just inside the top 5, or just outside the top 5, I should say, in the GT4s in the NPG Racing BMW GT4. Chandler Williams will look to do the same in the top 5 position in the Bentley, but in the GT3s as they round out the top of the hill, the highest part at the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout, and back down the hill they go through the sweeping right-hander before they go into zipper formation for the start of the race. Ryan Eason starts alongside JP Reed and Sir Kojay. Will he be able to make up some places from the start and get into a strong finishing position come the end of the race? And there is that zipper formation to start the race. Through the chicane they go. It'll be a short blast down to the line, so some drivers will be starting on the turn. The front of the GT3 field looking to get a clean getaway, and the GT4s will look to do the same with a slightly delayed start behind them. Rounding out the final corner, we wait for the green lights to go to release the drivers for round 5 of the GT3 and GT4 Multi-Class Championship. And there is the green light. Drive-through penalties for the number 15 and the 410. That's Buggy Watt and JP Reed. But Thiago Dinarte getting a really good start, trying to go down the inside of Ricardo Rivera. Jake Wells holding on to first place, but Thiago Dinarte up to second for the time being. Ricardo Rivera will have the inside going into turn number 2, and now into turn 3. Ricardo Rivera hanging on to that advantage, as behind you have Ramon Torres trying to get the position on Kevin Yu, but he is unable to do that with the Jason Provolone behind him, trying to get those places, as well as Justin Beachley was able to get through Neil Kerbel for the start, or for the lead, I should say, of the GT4s, and Brian DeSantiago up into 3rd place in the GT3s, climbing up all the way from 6th place, getting a fantastic start in that BMW. And at the front of the GT3s, Ricardo Rivera is still trying to make up the position on Jake Wells in front, as Thiago Dinarte running a little bit wide through the Schumacher S. That'll give Chandler Williams the position potentially to make the move to the inside of turn number 10, but he is unable to capitalize on that slight little wiggle from the McLaren driver in front. And now Jake Wells falling under a little bit of pressure from Ricardo Rivera, excuse me, in the Ferrari, looking to get the place into the chicane. Doesn't quite decide to send it just yet, thinking the better of it. It is quite a long race still to go, so Ricardo Rivera still looking to get that easy overtake, but Jake Wells certainly knows how to hold on to the race lead. Oh, and Neil Kerbel and Justin Beachley go side by side through the chicane, and now Neil Kerbel, oh, there's a car spun around at the exit of the chicane. That is one of the GT3 McLarens stranded there, but Neil Kerbel getting the lead back through the chicane, getting by Justin Beachley. And now finishing off lap 1. Neil Kerbel remains in the lead of the GT4 field. Justin Beachley trying to get those positions. Brian DeSantiago in 3rd place in a podium position, looking to get those places back as well. Oh, and there's Thiago Dinarte, a little bit wide exiting turn number 4, as he was trying to make up the places, unfortunately now losing a few to the Bentley of Chandler Williams and the Ferrari of Kevin Yu. So Thiago Dinarte will try to get those places back, but still in a good top 5 position for the time being. Ramon Torres behind him in 6th, Jason Provolone in 7th, Dan Campbell in 8th. Then you have the Mustang of Chericola in 9th, and Cicerone rounds out the top 10 of the GT3s. Ryan Eason and Rally Dutchy going side by side. This is a bit of a mismatch here. That's the GT3 versus a GT4. And this is the lead, or the battle for the lead, I should say, of the GT4s. Justin Beachley was momentarily in the lead for about a sector, and Neil Kerbel took it right back after having pole position. He will hang on to that lead for the time being, but Brian DeSantiago and Justin Beachley looking quite racy behind, so they will try to make up ground, as Dom Matroni falling back down the grid after starting on the front row, as he has Dr. Porkchop in front. He will look to make that position and going over the curb pretty heavily, bouncing the rear end. And oh, there was a car spinning in the background. That was the 621 and the 222, also under yellow flag conditions up in front. Battles for the lead going on everywhere. This is Ricardo Rivera still on the tail of Jake Wells, not giving him any breathing room for the lead of the race. Puerto Rico E-Racing Club Ferrari trying to get that place on Jake Wells as best as he can. With the field really stacked up still, it is still anybody's race to win. Chandler Williams and Thiago Dinarte already getting the position by Kevin Yu, so he moves up into 4th place. And this is the top 5, all within 1 corner. Jake Wells leading Ricardo Rivera, then Chandler Williams in 3rd place, benefiting from Thiago Dinarte running a little bit wide, but he is already back on the tail of the Bentley in 4th place overall in the GT3s. Dan Campbell looking to make up a bit of ground here. Jason Provolone up ahead of him in the Mustang. Oh, and a bit of a moment there, running heavily over the curbs, bouncing the rear end, not able to get the power down. And that'll give some breathing room to the number 82 Mustang from the 720 McLaren behind, trying to push and get that position. Back to the GT4s. Justin Beachley still not giving Neil Kerbel any breathing room for the lead of the race. They have gained a bit of a gap to Brian DeSantiago, about 2.5 seconds to the final podium position, which is currently being held by the 777 BMW. Then you have Noah Johnson in 4th, Alex Freeman in 5th, Professor Chronotis in 6th, Afonso up into 7th place after starting near the back of the GT4 field. Then you have Sir Kojay, then Dom Matroni and Dr. Porkchop. After their battle, Dom Matroni was able to get through the AMG, but this AMG of Justin Beachley is still trying to hold on to the tail of the McLaren of Neil Kerbel for the race lead. Lots going on here. The top 3, nearly the top 4, all within 1 braking zone here, as Jake Wells still leading the way. Chandler Williams setting the fastest lap of the race, showing that the Bentley has some pace to potentially get up into that top step of the podium, but he has 2 cars ahead of him challenging for that position, and 1 behind of Thiago Dinarte. Alex Freeman making up the position on Noah Johnson. A little bit of a mistake there from the AMG, allowing Alex Freeman to slip through the inside of turn number 5, and the move was done and dusted before the braking zone of turn 6. So the AF Sport Aston Martin of Alex Freeman up into 4th place, about 2 seconds behind Brian DeSantiago. So can he find a little bit of pace to close that gap and potentially find himself on the final step of the podium? Let's redeem that onboard lap with Thiago Dinarte right as he crosses the line. He's got Chandler Williams in front in the braking zone of turn 1. There was nearly a battle for the lead there, or the lead change, I should say. Ricardo Rivera nearly sneaking a look down the inside of Jake Wells. Oh, and an oversteer moment from Thiago, able to hold it though through turn 2. And now into the braking zone of turn 3. The Bentley taking a pretty defensive line there as the top 2 continue to battle, just a few cars ahead of the Please Brake T1 of Thiago Dinarte. He has the Please Brake T1 teammate in front of Chandler Williams, and then Ricardo Rivera and Jake Wells not too far in front of them, as this is a fantastic 4-car battle for the lead. Will anyone decide to come in for that early pit stop and potentially try that undercut? But doing it early does mean there is the possibility of getting mixed up in traffic after the pit stop, and that will certainly be very costly, as Thiago not able to get quite as clean of an exit as the cars in front, falling back just that little bit through the Schumacher S. But back into the braking zone, the field closes right back up. He is right back on the tail of the Bentley. Slightly early upshift there, exiting the corner for Thiago, trying to get the power down as effectively as he can, and into the chicane, really closing the gap, very aggressive on the curbs, has to take it very easy on the second part, as you're a little bit blinded on where to go if you are that close to the car in front. And that was the onboard lap with Thiago Dinarte in the number 23 McLaren. Professor Chronotis in the GT4 field, trying to get the position on Noah Johnson to move himself up into a top 5 position. The 2 AMGs, equal machinery, potentially having different setups though. One might be stronger in one sector versus another. One might be carrying less wing, having a straight line speed advantage. So it is now just down to the drivers to see which one is best. A little bit wide on the exit, as there is already a bit of an overlap from the GT3 field. That is Buggy Watt in the 410 GT3 Ferrari trying to go through, and this is a good spot for him to make his way down through both cars, able to carry a lot more speed, as Professor Chronotis trying to pick up a toe and going a little bit onto the grass in the braking zone, able to avoid the car in front very well, as the 2 pink AMG GT4s continue to battle it out for another lap here. And in the lead of the GT4 field, in their fellow AMG driver Justin Beachley, not giving Neil Kerbel any breathing room at the front as he tries to pursue the McLaren driver for the race lead. And this is one of the better opportunities to do it, into the braking zone of the hairpin at turn 7. But he's just not quite close enough to send it just yet. AMG just lurking behind. In the meantime, Thiago Dinarte able to get through Chandler Williams, as Jake Wells runs a little bit wide and onto the curbs, pushing Ricardo Rivera a little bit onto the grass, and now they go side by side. Ricardo Rivera trying to get the inside line, but Jake Wells held onto it well. And now the over-under move from Ricardo Rivera. Can he go the long way around? Very hard to find the grip around the outside of that corner. Very hard to get the move done there. And Jake Wells holding on to the race lead for the time being as they approach the Ginetta of Jay Daly. And now this will be a very interesting moment of how the GT4 traffic and the GT3 traffic overlaps. To the inside go the two leaders, Thiago Dinarte and Chandler Williams, able to slip through. Very well done from the overlap of the GT3s and the GT4s, but Jake Wells, very good defensive move thrown on by him to hang on to the race lead for the time being. Ricardo Rivera and Thiago Dinarte looking pretty racy behind, so they will try to change that position, their positions quickly, or as quickly as possible. Now Danny Campbell looking to do just that as well, still on the back of the Mustang of the cheese man Jason Provolone, who himself is pretty close to the McLaren of Ramon Torres in front in this battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th place. A McLaren sandwich with cheese in the middle, if you will, as they begin their GT4 overlap for the first time, meeting the Ginetta of Jay Daly into the entry of turn 1. Danny Campbell just taking it a little bit safe, not quite cutting to the apex, but that's how the multi-class racing goes most of the time. You got to take it a little bit easy and make sure you slide on through safely rather than quickly. So with 15 minutes complete in the race so far, Jake Wells hanging on to the race lead from Ricardo Rivera. Thiago Dinarte back into 3rd place after getting moved down to 5th after running a little bit wide on the exit of turn number 3, I believe, or turn 2. But nonetheless, it doesn't really matter which corner. He is back into that podium position, looking to get on the tail of the battling duo of Ricardo Rivera and Jake Wells. They were side by side for a few corners, but Jake Wells able to hang on to the race lead from Ricardo Rivera. But he is really looking to change that, as he is very close to the back of the McLaren. The chicane, a very tricky spot to get the overtake done, unless you get the very good overspeed advantage exiting that corner, which it doesn't look like he's quite close enough to do it just yet. But the slower he goes, that just brings in Ricardo Rivera. Oh, well, that was a race. DT on the start, spun at T2, and DC on lap 3. Unfortunate to hear, my friend. Well, hopefully those issues will not be bugging you for the next race in round 6. As the battle is continuing there for the lead of the GT3s. This is the GT4 battle between Dr. Porkchop and Ryan Eason. Dr. Porkchop getting through the Camaro as the 71 AMG slides through and gets the position on the Camaro right as the leaders here of the GT4s begin to approach this battling duo. And that's Dom Matroni in the grass there. Jake Wells trying to go through the outside there. Will he be compromised by the traffic, or will Ricardo Rivera try to find a way through, trying to pull a Mika Hakkinen moment there? Oh, and there's contact. Dr. Porkchop goes into Jake Wells, and so he is spun and he finds himself stranded in the exit, or in the middle part of turn 7. So Ricardo Rivera now in the lead of the GT3s. Thiago Dinarte up in 2nd, Chandler Williams in 3rd, and I believe Kevin Yu able to get through that moment unscathed, so he will be up in 4th place. Ramon Torres not quite able to get through, but there will certainly be a good bit of damage to the car of Jake Wells. Right on the side there, you can see it very, very damaged and scratched up there. Hopefully not too costly in terms of lap time, as he will now look to make up the ground that was lost from that overlapping traffic. So this now frees up Thiago Dinarte and Ricardo Rivera to try and push on for the race win. Ricardo Rivera inheriting the lead after that moment into turn 7. The Ferrari just ahead of the McLaren, but also a bit of damage on the back end of the Ferrari, it looks like, from a bit of a moment into that incident at turn 7 between everybody. One car forced to brake, and the cars from behind went into the cars ahead. And so now Jake Wells into the pits actually on this lap, so he will look to get the damage repaired, get the car refueled, get some new tires on, and exit the pits in a pretty good spot. Actually, there's a pretty decent gap for him to come out and just be able to push some hot laps out and try and crack on with the race. That's really all you can do at this point on. Gotta just move on from that moment. Jason Provolone trying to get the position on Ramon Torres in front, gaining a little bit of ground on Danny Campbell. Going up to the Schumacher S side by side with the GT4. Now giving him the room to go up and through to chase Ramon Torres in the 181 McLaren up in front. So Jake Wells completed the pit stop. Now he is now rolling out of the pit lane. Hopefully will find himself in a pretty decent gap there, and I think he will, ahead of the 222 BMW. Just a few GT4s for him to deal with, and then it will be clean sailing for him to try and crack on with the race, put in some good hot laps, and before the others continue with their pit stops. And this is Noah Johnson letting Ricardo Rivera through. Alex Freeman nearly getting involved in a bit of an incident there, and the 23 of Thiago Dinarte going into the pits as well from second place. Rally Dutchy in the pits, and Ryan Eason as well. So Noah Johnson, after a bit of a hairy moment with the leaders, now the Bentley going through of Chandler Williams will try to close the gap to Alex Freeman in front. It was around 0.3 of a second, now opening up to about 1.5 seconds, and that is just the sort of action that the multi-class can bring. Running out of water here. So much action, just can't stop talking. Hope everybody's doing well on this Wednesday evening, morning, afternoon, Thursday night, Thursday morning, wherever you may be joining us from. Happy to have you here with us at Trackalicious. Jason Provolone running a little bit deep, but able to keep the car under control. That was entering turn number 10. Just a bit too much entry speed there, as Ricardo Rivera and Chandler Williams in the pits now from the race lead and second place respectively. Professor Chronotis in the pits for the GT4s. Brian DeSantiago already completing a pit stop. He is out in the lead of those of the GT4s who have completed a pit stop. And now Thiago Dinarte completing his as well, coming out ahead of Jake Wells. Now going for the long strategy is Jason Provolone, up now into second place with Kevin Yu in the lead in the number 95 Ferrari, looking to get the clean laps in while he can. Just a few GT4s up front, in front But apart from that, not too much traffic for him to deal with. So Jake Wells, after completing the pit stop, has a fair bit of a gap, about 10 seconds to Thiago Dinarte, but he certainly has pace in the McLaren. He knows his way around the ACC game and how to put in the laps. So he will look to do just that in the closing 27 minutes of the race. After the pit stop, Ricardo Rivera is still out in the lead, ahead of Chandler Williams, who was able to jump Ramon Torres and Joe Chericola. And they got pretty good pit stops there. With Thiago Dinarte and Jake Wells going a bit long after having to repair their damage. The number 9 Mustang electing to go the short route, as did Ramon Torres. And so now the battle for the top 3 remains here, with Ricardo Rivera just about a second in front of Chandler Williams, who is also just about a second in front of Thiago Dinarte. Then you have Ramon Torres in the 181. Then you have Chericola in the number 9 Mustang, currently sitting in 9th place. But Provolone, Cizeron, and Kevin Yu are in the pits to serve that mandatory pit stop. So where will all of those drivers come out relative to the top 3 here? Before the pit stop phase, Ricardo Rivera still out in front, but the Bentley having very strong race pace here so far as we approach the halfway mark of round 5. Will the Bentley send a move to the inside? He will! Into turn 1, the Bentley going a little bit deep, and that allows Ricardo Rivera to get the over-under done and hang on to the race lead. The Bentley just going that hair deep, unable to carry the speed he needed to, or unable to slow down in time to carry the speed he needed to through the corner to get by Ricardo Rivera for the race lead. And there you hear it. We are at the halfway mark, halfway to the end of, or halfway through the race. With how much action the first half has provided, I hope the second half provides just as much. With the top 3 in the GT3s separated by just about a second between them. And then you have the battle for the GT4s between Justin Beachley and Neil Kerbel continuing for the entirety of that 25 minutes. And now Neil Kerbel in the pits from the lead of the GT4s. Justin Beachley is released into some clean air to try and put in that clean lap to get the overcut done on his championship rival in the GT4s. And once again, anything can happen here with the multi-class action between the GT3s and the GT4s. As we saw that incident between the leaders, and once again the Bentley trying to send a move down the inside of turn 1, and Ricardo Rivera covering it off just that little bit, or just enough I should say, to not allow the Bentley any room to the inside to get the opening he needed. So he will look to try and get that move done again, but Ricardo Rivera once again smartly covering off that decision. Did you do the onboard? I just got back. I did already do the onboard, but it is no problem. We can do it again. Hop in on board with Thiago. He's got a good view of this battle for the race lead anyway, so that's pretty good timing. So into turn 7 they go. The Bentley almost having a look again to the inside, but the way the Ferrari just takes the corner, it just sweeps in super late, not allowing any opening in. And through the Schumacher S, very difficult to follow a car bumper to bumper through here, but the Bentley is doing just that, pushing the Ferrari up the hill. And Thiago Dinarte gets a front row seat of this battle for the race lead. He will look up to pick up any scraps if he doesn't oversteer himself. A bit of a hairy moment there, exiting turn number 10. Back down the hill they go, into the sweeping right-hander. And into the chicane, the Bentley side by side with the Ferrari. Who will get the move done? Oh, and Ricardo Rivera hanging on to the race lead. And now Thiago Dinarte sweeping to the inside of the final corner into turn 15. The McLaren to the inside getting the move done. And so now he will try to chase down Ricardo Rivera in front with teammate Chandler Williams behind. Oh, and now he's getting bump drafted into the first corner here by the number 3 Bentley. It's hard to pick which camera to go. Do we go front or do we go back? Top 3 providing a great bit of action for the entirety of the race so far. And still 21 minutes on the clock. Absolutely anything can happen. Don't count anybody out just yet. McLaren does sound good indeed. So that's the onboard lap completed. We are back to where we started. So after the pit stop phases, Neil Kerbel in the lead of the GT4s, ahead of Professor Chronotis, who is ahead of Brian DeSantiago. Actually, it's not quite safe to say who is in what position just yet, as Justin Beachley and Alex Afonsos have still yet to complete their mandatory pit stops in the race so far. You did choose a perfect time to do that. Well done. We should have you. We should hire you as the camera operator. And now Justin Beachley into the pits from the lead of the GT4s, right as the clock hits 20 minutes. So where will Neil Kerbel come out relative to that championship rival of his, who has just sat in the pits waiting for the pit crew to get the necessary changes done to the car, whether that be refueling and tires or just a simple refuel is all. But nonetheless, Justin Beachley will just be sitting there as Neil Kerbel rounds the final corner and goes down the start-finish straight, with Justin Beachley rolling out of the pit lane there into turn 1, and Justin Beachley hanging on to the race lead. After the pit stop, the number 18 finds himself ahead of the McLaren, so now the Beach GT will look in to put in the good laps. Or he did in fact put in the good laps when it counted, and now stays ahead of the 395 McLaren. And there's a drive-through for the 999 for speeding in the pit lane. That's Andre Alex Afonso picking up the drive-through. Unfortunately there for the Maserati driver, as he came out in a pretty good position after the pit lane, or after the pit stop, I should say. And Ramon Torres trying to get the position back from the Cheeseman after losing it to both Jason Provolone and Danny Campbell. So the McLaren sandwich has been reversed. Danny Campbell now at the front and Ramon Torres at the back, but still the cheese topping in the middle of Jason Provolone looking to get the position in front. Has about 1.5 seconds to the McLaren of Danny Campbell in front, and you can see the gap very close to Ramon Torres behind, nearly pushing. Oh, and the Ford oversteering on the exit, compromising the speed advantage he might have. Ramon Torres might have a great look to the inside of turn 1 here, but the Mustang has a great straight line speed advantage. But nonetheless, Ramon Torres having a look at the opening provided by Jason Provolone, but he will have the inside for the next corner. And unless Ramon Torres can get a switchback done here, the position might have been held on by Jason Provolone, but he leaves the door just that slight bit open for the McLaren. But they're still side by side, and now Ramon Torres able to find the grip around the outside of turn 4, gets the move done and slides up into 6th place. Great move from the McLaren driver to get by the Ford, and great side-by-side racing between the two of them. So now Ramon Torres has 2.8 seconds to try to close up to fellow McLaren driver Danny Campbell up in front. And here we have the lead of the GT3s. You read my mind, my friend. The gap was around 1.3 seconds from Ricardo Rivera to Thiago Dinarte, but that gap has closed right back up to the gap you see on the screen here, 0.4 seconds. But Thiago Dinarte not quite close enough to send the move to the inside. Ricardo Rivera covering it off very well, and Chandler Williams looking to pick up any sort of scraps that he may, or that may be provided up in front. The Ferrari proving a very difficult car to overtake, able to hang on to the race lead multiple times. But that is just the nature of the Nurburgring Grand Prix layout. The inside turns to the outside on a number of the corners that provide good overtaking opportunities, so it is very possible to get the switchback done. Which is why it is one of the great racetracks of the world. So Jake Wells now on the back of the number 9 Mustang, looking to get the position and move up to 8th place. Can he get the move done into the braking zone, side by side into turn 5? And now back down the hill through turn 6. Jake Wells improves up to 8th place after his lengthy pit stop to repair the damage to the back of his McLaren. And he will have a bit of a gap now, around 11 seconds to the Cheeseman up in 7th place to try to improve on his position. Neil Kerbel back in the lead of the GT4s. Justin Beachley back to 2nd in the Beach GT AMG. So Neil Kerbel gets the move done to get his lead back in the GT4s, but Justin Beachley has gotten it from Neil Kerbel once, and he will look to do it yet again with 14 minutes left on the clock. Time is beginning to run out for anyone to make any final lead changes. And speaking of lead changes, there might be one in the GT3s, as Ricardo Rivera was momentarily behind both Thiago Dinarte and Chandler Williams, and now the pair of them go side by side into turn 5, and Thiago Dinarte hanging on to 2nd place, and Chandler Williams wants to get that position so he can try and get the race lead from Ricardo Rivera. Absolutely spicy stuff all around. Up and down both the GT3 and the GT4 fields. As the battles continue on here, the two McLarens already Ramon Torres on the back of Danny Campbell. Approaching the hairpin at turn 7. A good overtaking opportunity here, but in equal machinery, it is pretty difficult to get that overspeed advantage into the braking zone done. But Ramon Torres having a great pace advantage over the fellow McLaren driver in front will look to get these places done as quickly as possible. Ramon Torres dipping a wheel momentarily into the gravel, but it didn't look like it slowed him down any little bit. He will look to get the move done into the chicane, forced to go to the outside the long way around. Danny Campbell hanging on to that top 5 position for the meantime, forcing Ramon Torres just a little bit back. But look, now is one of the better overtaking opportunities into turn number 1. Can Ramon Torres get it done? Danny Campbell already taking the defensive line as they cross the start-finish line. Ramon Torres forced to go the long way around, but already through the braking zone, he gets the move done, and he finds himself back into the top 5. With a bit of GT4 traffic in front, now Ramon Torres has a bit of clean air in front to try to catch up to Kevin Yu. The gap is pretty lengthy, though. It's right around 20 seconds to the Ferrari in 4th place. But like we said, anything can happen in this multi-class event with the GT3s and the GT4s on track at the same time. Chandler Williams still on the back of Thiago Dinarte, both of them looking to close the gap once again to Ricardo Rivera. It opened up to about 1.5 seconds on the previous lap, but closing right back down each and every lap as the two Please Brake T1 teammates continue to battle it out for that final, or the final positions of the podium. With the BMW of Lussier going into the pits to serve that mandatory pit stop. And absolutely anything can happen still. 10 minutes left on the clock. Who will finish out on top in the GT3s? Who will finish on top in the GT4s? The gap opening up between Beachley and Kerbal to 1.8 seconds. Justin Beachley has a bit of work to do if he wants to close that gap and get the position over the McLaren driver, as the trio of leaders going through the hairpin. It remains Rivera in the lead from Dinarte, from Chandler Williams. The number 3, Bentley in 3rd place. The number matches the position. Go to speed and watt, you say. This is Mach Speed in the 145, Buggy Watt in the 410, Ferrari up in front going through the Schumacher S. Buggy Watt hanging on to 11th place. Mach Speed looking to change that, though, as they approach the Camaro of Ryan Eason in the number 2 Jurassic Racing. Oh, and Mach Speed going a little bit off track there, I believe. A slight moment with the GT4. Yes, that was the Camaro. Getting a little bit thrown off on the braking zone there. So Mach Speed, unfortunately, had a bit of a disadvantage there. falling back just that little bit. More traffic being dealt with by the leaders. Ricardo Rivera looking to cleanly work his way through. Doesn't want to be compromised in any way with the fast charging Thiago Zinarte and Chandler Williams behind. Now going into the hairpin, that is Professor Chronotis, who currently sits in third place of the GT4s. Also looking to hang on to his good position, doesn't want to compromise his race in any way either. But he has Brian DeSantiago pushing behind. Try and change that order on the podium. And here is Brian DeSantiago. 2.5 seconds, or about 2 seconds now, separates him from Professor Chronotis for that final podium position. Is he able to close the gap in the final 7 minutes of the race? There you see the McLaren just end the front of shot. He can see the target. It's now 1.5 seconds to Professor Chronotis, so that gap is certainly closing. Can the 777 BMW find his way through with the time ticking down? Oh, and Chandler Williams back in the pits. The number 3 Bentley in the pit lane from the podium, so that promotes Kevin Yu up into third. Very quiet race from Kevin Yu, but finding himself on a podium step with 6 minutes left. He will certainly try to hang on the best as he can. Ramon Torres is the next car behind, and it is a pretty lengthy gap, 22 seconds. Oh man, unfortunate there for Chandler Williams, having to return back to the pits. Can only presume didn't quite have enough fuel to finish the race. So the leading trio becomes the leading duo, with Thiago Zinarte in the 23. McLaren trying to push the Ferrari. Oh, and pushing is the McLaren himself. Nearly losing it at the top of the Schumacher S's. But able to keep it under control, but the gap has grown to about 1.5 seconds after that little mistake from Thiago Zinarte. So a bit of a wiggle from the McLaren, costing him that little bit of time, but he has closed the gap on numerous occasions to the Ferrari in front, so he will certainly try to do just that. But under 5 minutes left on the clock now, about 3 laps remain for Thiago Zinarte to try and get that lead of the race from Ricardo Rivera. The GT4 field opening up just that little bit now. Brian DeSantiago closing the gap to about 1.5 seconds, but it now opened back up to right around 2 seconds for that final step of the podium for the GT4s. Mach Speed was able to get through Buggy Watt. There's the Porsche in front of the Ferrari in this battle for 11th and 12th place. And just in front of them is the Mustang of Chericola. Then Cicerone is in 9th. Then you have Chandler Williams after the pit stop in 8th place. Jason Provolone in 7th. Jake Wells recovering well up in 6th. Dan Campbell in 5th, Ramon Torres in 4th, then Kevin Yu in 3rd place, Thiago Zinarte in 2nd, and Ricardo Rivera still hanging on to that race lead. Neil Kerbel in front of the GT4 field, with Justin Beachley about 4 seconds back in second place. Then Professor Chronotis and Brian DeSantiago pretty close on track. Alex Freeman not too far off either in 5th place. Noah Johnson in 6th. Ryan Eason in 7th. Dom Matroni in 8th. Then you have Andre Alex Afonso, Dr. Porkchop, and Jay Daly. So there's the GT4 leaders, or the GT4 leader letting the GT3 leaders through. Ricardo Rivera still hanging on. Time ticking away. Just 2 laps left for him to defend and hang on to the race lead in the number 53 Ferrari. This is what the back of the Ferrari is seeing going through the Schumacher S's. Thiago Dinarte trying to close that gap once again. Opening up in certain parts, then closing again. Ricardo Rivera able to deal with the pressure so far, as he has the final sector coming up. And then one more lap. 3.2 miles and 15 corners will separate him from the checkered flag. Take round 5, to take the victory in round 5, I should say. So rounding out the final corner up to the line. 1 lap to go for the GT3 leaders, and Thiago Dinarte find that little bit of pace he needs. This doesn't look like Ricardo Rivera is making any sort of mistake anytime soon. Jake Wells also looking to recover well, and he does recover quite well. Now up in 5th place. Or no, 6th place, excuse me. Trying to get by Dan Campbell up in front of him in the 720 McLaren. There's 3 McLarens in a row there. Torres, Campbell, and Jake Wells. So he has 1 lap left in this battle of the 2 McLarens to change his position. Buggy Watt, Jason Provolone side by side into the final corner. Chandler Williams gets the position on the Cheeseman, so he advances up into 7th place after taking the late pit stop in the Bentley. He moves on through to get that position. So Neil Kerbel will be on his last lap here in the lead of the GT4s, and the lead of the GT3s may still change, with Ricardo Rivera defending for dear life from Thiago Dinarte in the number 23 McLaren as they continue down the hill for the final time through the sweeping right-hander into the chicane. Will there be a late move thrown by the McLaren? Not quite close enough to do it yet. He needs a great exit to try and do it into the braking zone of turn 15. But Ricardo Rivera hanging on for the majority of the final stint there. He will take the checkered flag, and he will win round 5. Thiago Dinarte across the line in 2nd place. Then Danny Campbell and Jake Wells continuing to battle it out, going through turn number 10 they go. Professor Chronotis there trying to get out of the way of the battling cars, but he doesn't want to give too much as Brian DeSantiago looking to close the gap. Side by side are the 2 McLarens through the right-hander into the chicane. Will Jake Wells find himself into the top 5? He gets the move done for the meantime. He's ahead by the braking zone of turn 15, and it looks like it will be a top 5 finishing position for Jake Wells after that incident from the lead of the race. And Neil Kerbel across the line to take the win of the GT4s. Same with Justin Beachley in 2nd place, and Brian DeSantiago unable to get Professor Chronotis for that final podium position. And congrats to Kevin Yu as well for finishing on the podium in the number 95 Ferrari. The Bentley is stranded there. I thought the Bentley had crossed the line already. But it doesn't say that the Bentley has been checkered flagged, so has the Bentley run out of fuel again? What has happened to Chandler Williams' race? So Andre Alex Afonso in the 999 will come across the line. Yeah, that was slightly interesting. But anyway, Ricardo Rivera out on top in the GT3s. Then you have Thiago Dinarte, then Kevin Yu, then Ramon Torres in 4th, Jake Wells in 5th, Danny Campbell in 6th, Jason Provolone 7th, Miguel Cicerone in 8th, Joe Chericola in 9th, Chandler Williams in 10th, Buggy Watt 11th, Mach Speed 12th, Jaden Lussier in 13th, Rally Dutchy in 14th. Then in the GT4s, Neil Kerbel in the lead. Congrats to him for the win. Then Justin Beachley in 2nd, Professor Chronotis in 3rd, Brian DeSantiago 4th, Alex Freeman 5th, Noah Johnson in 6th, Ryan Eason in 7th place, with Dom Matroni in 8th. Andre Alex Afonso there across the line in 9th. And then Dr. Porkchop in 10th, Jay Daly in 11th, then Larson Sadowski finishing the race in 26th place. I'd like to invite all of our podium finishers to the green room for a quick chat to let us know how your race went. And if not, then we will end it there. Take it back to our lovely studio here. We've got a few drivers in the studio, or in the green room, I should say, waiting for us. Let's bring in the GT4 podium sitter, Justin Beachley. Hello, Justin. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. That was nonstop action from start to finish. How was the race for you? It looked like you were going to hang on to that race lead for a little bit, and then it kind of just went to Neil Kerbel there.
Yeah, feeling pretty good there for a bit. I think my quali run got a little impeded. I gave the car in front of a pretty big gap, and I was probably had time for P2 and lost it in the last corner. But yeah, the race was really good. At least the first stint, I was really keeping up with Kerbel there, and it was really close race. I think what kind of did me in was some of the backmarker GT3s that were coming back up through the field frustrated me a little bit, and caused me to overdrive a little bit, because it seemed like every time they passed me, it was in a really inconvenient location, and they were just getting by Kerbel on the straight or something like that. So
yeah, that's always how it seems to happen.
Yeah, so I definitely lost a couple seconds there, and then ended up just a little bit ahead after the pit stops, and just couldn't hang on. I think I was probably overdriving the car a little bit. I, of course, started thinking I put old tires on the car to start the race, but I don't think that was the case. But yeah, I would definitely take P2 after the less than ideal quali effort, but yeah, it would have been nice to win. I really wanted that one, but didn't quite happen tonight.
Yeah, not quite tonight. That went to Neil Kerbel. We brought you into the green room here. Neil, how are you doing tonight? Congrats on the win.
Oh, thanks. I am once again very tired.
Yeah, it seemed like quite a battle from start to finish. You had Justin on your tail for the whole time, just about for that whole first stint. Then the pit stops happened, and then you got the lead back.
Yeah, the section before the pit stop, I was feeling pretty confident. I was building up a gap, and then Beachley just started cutting into that gap quickly, and I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, but you were able to get the move back after the pits. I'm guessing you guys both took tires.
I did. I don't think Beachley did. He came out of the pits maybe like half a second ahead of me. So I assume he didn't take tires, and I was able to overtake him just due to having fresher rubber on my car.
Yeah, sometimes it's just all it needs is just that little bit of an advantage. But yeah, hold on to it. You held on to it from after the pit stops pretty much the whole way through. And then Professor Chronotis joining us here from third place. How was the race from your perspective? You were almost getting caught up by Brian DeSantiago at the end there.
Yeah, he wasn't ever really going to catch me. I was just kind of hanging out in front of him.
Fair enough. How was it negotiating the traffic for you?
Well, I timed my pit stop, so I dodged the first round of traffic. And that went a long way, I think, because it was kind of sparse. After that, there was no big groups coming through, except for one time the GT3 podium came through in like the third to last lap and just kind of pulled over and let them train through.
Gotcha.
But yeah, traffic was gentle. Nobody really tried to dive where they shouldn't. It was really well done by everyone.
Yeah, that's always good to hear. Well, congrats to the GT4 podium, Professor Chronotis in third, Justin Beachley second, and Neil Kerbal for taking the race win. Congrats to the three of you. We'll move you back to the green room here, and we will bring in... Oh my goodness, my Discord is lagging like crazy. There we go. And we'll bring in Ricardo Rivera. Hello, Ricardo. Congrats on the race win. How are you doing, my friend?
Sweaty and tired.
Sweaty and tired. Yeah, you were having to defend the whole time from 3 different cars pretty much.
Yeah, it was crazy, and also carrying around 20 seconds of damage.
Oh yeah, talk us through that incident that happened at the turn 7 hairpin.
The one that was Jake Wells was involved.
Yeah.
I was actually like waiting for the pit stop to be completed, so I was playing it safe because every time I tried to attack Jake, Dinarta behind me and Williams were catching really quick. So I said like, well, I don't know, I'm gonna do the opposite they do in the pits and I was patiently waiting, but well, that happened and I got 18 seconds of damage. At least I survived the worst part. Unfortunate for Jake that he was actually racing real good and defending like crazy.
Yeah, it was a really good race from start to finish. Like the whole the top 5 at any moment could have been anybody at it. Could have finished, in any order.
Yeah, I thought Dinarta actually did like the perfect strategy or the perfect time to pit stop, but apparently I was watching through a replay right now and he catch like 3 cars of traffic, so actually it was better to stay 1 additional lap out. Also, that was my strategy. Do the opposite of what they do. Or
yeah, that's always a good one.
Yeah, being first, I actually couldn't do the same thing. I don't know. So they were behind me, so I don't know if they pitted. I had to, because I couldn't pit the same lap. But yeah, I was crazy defending. I think I was the slowest car in the south, the Bentley and the McLaren in the straight. Also, lap traffic make the race way more interesting.
Yeah, it certainly does make it interesting. I always love a good GT3 and GT4 mixture. And it seemed like the traffic, I mean, it certainly played a bit of a role in that race lead, but apart from that, it looked like pretty good for the most part.
Yeah. It's actually, good, really, really good race. Was fun.
Yeah, I agree. Super fun, start to finish. Very fun. Yeah, I can only imagine you being super tired, having to defend the whole way. Well, congrats again for the race win. I'll move you back to the green room here. We will see you in the next round at round 6 in the Wednesday Multiclass Championship and the GT3 and GT4s. And of course, signups are still open for the last 3 races, and we have the Monday Rookies Series running as well. And Ricky's going down tomorrow. How about that? And yeah, I think that's going to be it from us in the studio. Check out these cool shirts. As always, nice, fun designs available at the Tracklicious websites. Super fun shirts. Eric designs them all, makes them all. They are very, very cool. Got a lot of compliments on it while I was traveling. But happy to be back broadcasting the West Coast, or it's not the West Coast Wednesday, it's Wednesday Multiclass Championship. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Stick around for the raid and have yourselves a pleasant morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be joining us. Have a good one. We will see you next time.